Don't you just love that music? Gotta stay with you all day. So it's you hear it and you know what's coming next, man. It's time for one of my friends, one of my colleagues, somebody I admire and adore to share the screen with me and tell you something good. Today is a special one. Todd Hall has one of the best stories ever. When I met him, I'm going to let him tell you, but when I met him, it was in the most unique circumstances that will let you know that anything is possible. Hang on to your dreams, be prepared. He's going to be a great story. Todd Hall, tell me something good.
Hey, Steve.
It's your chance, brother. Go, man.
Oh, my
Go.
chance. Well, yeah. So great seeing you. And yeah, back to how we met. It was just an amazing story. So I had my girlfriend at the time, and I were going to the Four Seasons of Miami for like our little getaway special vacation. And after 3 years of dating, I was ready to take the big step and propose. So I had an engagement ring zip tied to the inside of my bathing suit when we checked into the Four Seasons, and I was expecting a nice quiet afternoon where I could propose and it would be all romantic. And when I get to the pool, it's jam packed. There's not a seat in the house. There's music going, there's DJs. I mean, there's models walking around. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how is this going to work out? And I had this moment of panic. And then as we found an empty chair, and then there was another one on the other side of that, there was this nice guy sitting there and said, hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you. My name's Steve. Here, I can move over. Here, let's get a towel for you. We shook hands. We met. We chatted for a few minutes. We started drinking and having a great time. The whole day goes by, and I'm like, I still have a ring in my pocket, and I think it's time for me to propose. So, found a quiet spot in the pool, proposed, and it was an amazing afternoon. And then we've been great friends ever since. And I appreciate you opening up another seat at the pool for us, so we could have a sit down and chill out.
You just never know. I mean, every year I think about that same event. You still go there, I think, right? It's just to go back and share.
We got married at the Four Seasons in Miami, and that was a crazy weekend too. Eric Spoelstra got married there. Hillary Clinton was in town, and she was at the hotel as well. So Secret Service was running around.
It was a fun weekend. So, one of the things I like to talk about on this show is, there's so much good in life. Your story with how you reunited with your lady from high school is so great, and you have such a great family. So there's a lot I want to go over. I want something good. Share with me, like, what you do, how you do it, what the pandemic has done to you, because you're such a positive guy. I mean, certainly when I met you for that first time, that was one of the things that got me attracted. It was like, hey, man, this is a good dude. So why don't you share a little bit about what you do, how you've done in business, your entrepreneurial spirit. Then we'll talk about sort of LinkedIn, and then maybe you're a star on HGTV.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So I've been in the staffing industry my entire career since 1997. And I always had that entrepreneurial bug. I had a couple of businesses when I was, 19, 20, 21, car stereos, window tinting, wanted to, be the president of a company and I do all that stuff. But what I realized early on is I didn't have that experience to really make an impact. And so my game plan was getting out of school, good job at Disney, going and finding good players in the industry that I wanted to work in and learning from them. So I ended up working at Robert Half. Robert Half taught me a great deal about the staffing industry, not only how to do the business, but also how to manage and run the business. And they're a large publicly traded company and offices all over the world. So I really learned how to be good at staffing, not only from a sales perspective and a recruiting perspective, but also for managing the business. So I started my first staffing firm in 2004, ran that until 2007, was acquired and moved into another staffing firm. And in the end of 2015, I sold that staffing firm, took some time off, relaxed, and then started another firm a couple of years ago and running strong. So I really enjoy the people aspect. I get to meet people like you. And, every phone call, it's new energy. So I might have a bad call and I'm like, all right, shake it off. Got to give good energy to the next person. And, people are amazing. Everyone's got a great story. And I'm always interested to hear, how people have been successful, why they're looking to take that next step. and then putting all that into my brain and saying, okay, well, where's this person going to be a good fit? And at the end of the day, it's got to be a good match from the candidate standpoint and from the client standpoint. So
Love that.
had great success
I
in the
love
staffing world. Yep.
I love that. So there's so much about our relationship that people can learn from. So when after meeting you, it was maybe a year later or less than a year, I go to Tampa, I reach out to you, I said, hey, let's grab a cup of coffee, which those that know me, that's how I meet and greet people. And then from that, you wound up asking me to speak to your entrepreneurs group, which is, by the way, I've traveled all over the world speaking. That particular group is made up of rock stars. So Tampa has it going on. But I want you to share with people sort of the roadmap of how you asked me for one kernel of an idea that you could share, because you had other people who had gotten on stage and didn't necessarily fit the bill. So if you can share that, because that's the name of the show. That's why we do
Absolutely. So being the CEO of this previous staffing company, I joined a group in Tampa called the CEO Council. And the CEO Council is made up of business executives, so business owners, presidents, chairmen, and CEOs. Minimum qualifications to get in is $3 million in revenue and 25 employees. Average size of the companies that are in the CEO Council of Tampa Bay, they range from what's about 125 employees, and I think it's about 25 million in revenue. It's like the average size of the company. So these are all individuals that have forged their way in the business world, had success, and they're in the process of growing their organizations. So I joined the group, had a great experience, and then was asked to join the board. So I'm on the board. We're having speakers come in. Some speakers are really, really good. Few of them were missing the mark. And I think that there was a thirst in the group for having quality people come in and being able to deliver in that 45-minute window good content that they could walk out and give back to their team and their staff. So after meeting you and seeing your enthusiasm and, and having multiple people that we knew in common from the Tampa area, I thought you'd be a great person for speaking and doing our monthly speaker series. So when we had that conversation about, hey, I need a nugget. Here's the framework in which you need to operate in. To tell me something good. I still hear that today. I walk into not recently, like in the last couple of months, but, I go into meetings and somebody would say, hey, tell me something good. And I'm just like, Steve Noodleberg, rubbing off on people 4 years later. That's awesome.
Oh, it's awesome,
so,
man.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And, and here's the other thing too, when you're the chair of programs and you're bringing speakers in and you have a miss and people give you a little bit of a hard time, but when you have a win, one of the best feelings I would have is walking out of the meeting and having people come up or send me emails and say, hey, that was awesome. I really got a lot. That person was great. How do I get in touch with them? Can they come in and coach my company? So I think you coming in and speaking, it helped me. It helped the group, and you left a lasting impression on people, and that's awesome.
And which is really so cool, because the other side of that story is that I was first building my speaking career. So to get up in front of that kind of an audience that was highly qualified and to deliver the way I did was a big step for me in building my brand and building my speaking. And so, my takeaway is, wow, I meet a guy at the pool at the Four Seasons, and then a couple of years later, he's so influential in getting me something that validated my work. It's just amazing. So recently I had the opportunity to join us on our LinkedIn, Learn LinkedIn Like a Pro event, which I was so excited to have you on board. You had some really unique takeaways when you shared your feedback that I think will be really telling. And I love that about you, is that you take things in, you process them, and then make them your own. And so from your experience, tell us, what you took away from that event.
Yeah, so my big takeaway was the whole comment on drafting, and I don't think a lot of people really understand drafting. Like, you might hear about it in NASCAR, but I live drafting every weekend. So I've completed 2 Ironman races. Ironman isn't an event where you go out and you're a weekend warrior and you run a 5K or a 10K and then you're done. So you're in the best shape of your life, and then you have to go 6 more months to build the distance factor in to be able to finish the Ironman. So it's a mental game, it's a nutrition game, and then it's a physical game. So every weekend I'm out cycling and I draft. I'm in a pace line with a group of people. And the thing that I liked about it, the comment that you made, it really made me think about business. And so the pace line and drafting is what you do on the bike is very similar to what you do in business every day. So first thing is there's the accountability factor. So when you're in the group and you're riding at 25 to 30 miles an hour, I mean, there's no room for error. You're accountable to the people in the front of you, and you're accountable to everybody that's behind you. So you have a very narrow focus. So my focus is not what's going on around me, not looking at the cars or things that are going on at the beach. I am so focused on the 2 inches of space between my front wheel and the rear wheel of the guy in front of me. And that's all that I'm thinking about. So it's a super hyper focus that I've got going on. That's the way we need to be in business. We can't have all these distractions going on with, social media and looking at this and everything else. Like if you want to be successful, narrow and deep and being really focused. The other thing is the leader really sets the pace. So when you get out front, you really have to do the work. And you have to make sure that you're in the right group. So if I'm drafting and I'm going out and doing a workout for the weekend, I don't want to be in the slow group. I want to be in the group that is where I'm at with my fitness and where maybe getting to that next level. So if they're at that 28 to 30 mile range for an average, I might be at 26. I want to be in that next group. So I'm going to work really, really hard. And so knowing that I've got that Paceline ride coming up on Saturday morning, I'm going to spend my entire week focusing on stretching, eating good, getting my workouts in so I can go out and compete in that workout on Saturday morning and do a good job. So, and I think one of the other things too, kind of back to CEO council, if you're the most successful person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
You're in the wrong room.
So I want to put myself in the room where everyone else, like all these people in the room that I'm in, I wanted to seat at that table. All these people, they've sold businesses for, 8 figures, 7 figures, 9 figures. I mean, we've had a couple of members in our group, the Tampa Unicorns, that have sold their businesses for over $1 billion. Those are the types of people that I want to be spending my time with because I have something to learn from them. And if I have the opportunity to be in their space, and all I'm going to be doing is asking questions and trying to soak it all up and, get some more wisdom. And I always walk out of those situations, whether it's a Paceline workout or a CEO council meeting, like feeling like I bettered myself. So
what a great attitude. What a great attitude. So I know that you are uber prepared all the time with whether it's your personal life or your business life. You probably have the best story of like planting a seed, staying focused on faith that it will happen, not when it happens, but knowing it's going to happen. So why don't you share with the audience, which would be really great, the HGTV story of my man Todd is a star.
I wish I could say like yes to the star thing. We got to work with a star, but it's super cool. And and again, it's kind of like parallel to what we do every day in business. My wife planted a seed with HGTV 4 years ago when we were combining our families, and she was moving to Florida and we were building a house. They had a show on called House Hunters, and it helped families that were blended and moving into a house together find the forever home for themselves. So we put in an application along with a photo of the family and everything else. And they already cast for the show. So 4 years later, we're in the middle of the pandemic. We're doing projects around the house. We're safe at home, but we're still stuck at home. And we get a call from the casting producer. Hey, I was going through my files. I saw your family photo. Love your story of how the two of you met. Can you do a casting interview tomorrow? Okay, sure. Absolutely. So the casting interview for us was just like another sales call. Like I'm prepared. Like when I make my sales calls, I go through my list. I know who I'm speaking to. I know about their background. I go in, I'm ready to rock it out. So we do that every day. So we were practiced and prepared. It's like, so people were like, how'd you get so lucky? I'm like, well, so there's an equation to luck. So there's the opportunity, there's the preparation, and then there's the execution. So you put all three of those things together and you make your own luck. So we went into the interview. It was supposed to be a 10-minute Skype interview. The interview turned into 45 minutes. The casting director loved us. She got the girls involved. They came upstairs and we had a great time. The dog jumped in. The next thing you know, we're getting an email from the showrunner and the executive producer of the series. hey, loved you guys. We're sending you camera equipment. And we're like, what? Does that mean what we're cast? Like, we hadn't signed contracts or non-disclosures or anything else. And then the other thing that I was a little nervous about in the very beginning was, how much is this going to cost us? Is this going to be a pay for play type of a thing? I get calls all
We've
the
been
time.
there
Hey, we want you
before.
to speak on this. Yeah, like, hey, we want you to do this, but it's going to cost you 10 grand. I'm like, no, that's not really necessarily the right thing for us. So we're still trying to get all this information. And then all of a sudden at our house, this big box shows up, and it's GoPro cameras and mic packs and lights and iPhones and hard drives and all the equipment needed to do this show. So the premise for the show was, they had no new content that they were able to push out during the pandemic. So all of their filming crews and their production companies across the country and in Canada had been kind of shuttered for the time being. So what they were looking for was a family that could film, that was handy, that could do some painting and assembling of furniture and some of the different tasks that were required to pull off the room makeover. And then they were just going to have a good time. They were going to be able to get good content. So we went into this whole situation. We were uber prepared. And we knocked it out of the park. So we got cast on the show. Our celebrity designer was Marie McCormick, who is known as Marsha Brady back in the day. And she's still doing stuff on HGTV right now. Yeah, absolutely. But a couple of key things too. So as we went through that process, Julie and I were always talking about, how do we exceed the expectations of the HGTV executives? And how do we exceed the expectations of the production company that we're working with? Because we're doing these technical calls. So it's a Zoom screen with camera director, so the director of photography, a couple of camera operators, a sound person, production assistants, story producers. All these people are on this Zoom screen, and normally they're in your house. So there's usually 10 to 15 people that show up for like an HGTV shoot. So now it's us doing all this work behind the scenes to prepare ourselves to be in front of the camera. So it was a little interesting. But when they asked for photos of the house and measurements and dimensions and selfies and all these different things, Julie and I put together a PowerPoint presentation. We didn't send them a couple of photos attached into an email. We put together a PowerPoint presentation. Bonus room. Here are the different angles and views. Here are the measurements. Outdoor living area. Here's some of the photos. Here's the measurements. Here's some of the areas of opportunity. The kitchen. All these different things. So we delivered a package back to them, and then they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like we love this. So then that's something that they used for the other families that they were working with. When it came time to setting everything up for the technical calls, we had to have a GoPro stationed above a webcam, which tied us into the Zoom meeting. So the GoPro actually filmed the content. Then we had to have another camera at I think it was like a 75-degree angle behind us, which captured a side angle view of the screen, and then the camera, and then like a side angle view of us, so they could kind of switch back and forth with the different scenes. Right. So, and then we had to have like all of our marks and everything, where we were going to sit and stand to make sure that the proper framing of the screen was going to be right, the lighting was right, like all these different things to put together content that was going to be able to be shown on TV. So again, another situation where we took photos, we put it in a PowerPoint presentation of all the different camera angles and all the steps that we took and how we put everything together. And it was kind of funny. So we got like a welcome packet, and when we opened up the welcome PDF and we were looking at it, it was like pictures of all the stuff that we had done for them that they were sending out to all these other families now. So
no surprise.
Yeah, but we do this every day, and we were prepared, and we went into it with the attitude of, we're going to have fun, but we're going to blow it out of the water. And it was awesome. It was awesome to see us on TV. It was kind of weird, but it was really exciting. So, everywhere I go now, it's kind of crazy. So as I'm circling around and getting back out in Tampa, I'm running into friends, and they're like, "Hey, I saw you on HGTV," and I'm like, Then I got to run through the story again, and it's when we relive that happy memory.
We will definitely put the link so that my audience can get a look at you. No surprise, you were a phenomenal interview. You are so your attitude towards life, your attitude towards business, how you relate stuff. I feel blessed that you are a friend. I'm thrilled that you got to spend some time with us this morning. And I know that there was an invite for us to come visit the house pre all this stuff. So as soon as we get through it, we're hopping in the car and coming to see you in Tampa.
Can't wait. Open
Give hugs
door.
and kisses to everybody.
All right.
Thank you for spending time with us. And
Good seeing
that
you,
was
Steve.
certainly something good, man. Be good.
Thanks. Same to you.